Are you hearing me?
Yep,
Okay.
we're good. Go
All
ahead.
right. All right. So let's talk about your marketing. So my question to you is, do you want to sell one book at a time or do you want to sell many at a time? So this is an actual book signing I did with Chicken Soup for the Entrepreneur's Soul. They did the launch in Sacramento, where I live. This was many years ago. But that morning we had media coverage. We were on the radio. We were on the local morning news. Barnes and Noble put us just 10 steps inside the front door. We had Sherry Fitzpatrick, the founder of Sherry's Berries, there giving away her chocolate dipped strawberries. And we thought, oh, this is going to be a wild day. Well, this is about as wild as it got. We spent most of the time directing people to the bathroom. So for those of you who've done book signings, you're probably familiar with the protocol. But the point is, we had all this media and we sold in 3 hours, I believe we sold 11 books. So that was the day I swore I would never do another book signing event. And here's what I'd rather do, and what I'd rather recommend that you do is engage your audience, whether it's as a speaker or with content. And we're going to talk about that. But if you speak at an event or online, that's a much better outcome than sitting at a table in a bookstore, because you've just engaged your audience and they want more from you. So really the opportunities today are online, right? Especially right now in a pandemic world. So the formula is content plus an engaged community. So I brought along some examples for you. This is Jenny Levine Fink. She is gluten intolerant, and she runs a community for people with gluten sensitivity. And she's been doing this for a number of years. And so when her book came out last year, she had this active, engaged community of over 10,000 people who couldn't wait to buy her book. It's been selling really, really well. I don't know David Brin, but I stumbled on his website and I thought he was doing a brilliant job. So science, technology, adventure. He is a scientist who writes, and he's engaging his community. He has a blog. He answers questions on Quora. He has a YouTube channel. So he is engaging his audience of fiction readers. Melinda Emerson started a Twitter chat called Small Biz Chat, and it was all about how to start and run a small business. And she grew her following to over 300,000. She makes a full-time living off corporate sponsorships and speaking now because of that Twitter chat. And today she's moved into podcasting and doing video and things of that nature. I also don't know Chelsea Campbell, but I stumbled on her website and her author story. Her first book was a total flop. She did a Kickstarter to publish her second book. That went well. And then she got a big advance for books 3 and 4. She's been optioned by Disney. And I just read that she's got another, I think, multi-book deal that's happened because she is engaging with her audience. Hal Elrod has written this wonderful book called Miracle Morning. Hal survived a head-on car collision with a drunk driver and a traumatic brain injury. He wasn't supposed to walk again. And so he's a miraculous story in of himself. The book is about getting up before 8 a.m. to meet your goals. And look at the number of reviews. How many people do you know that have 9,800 reviews on their book? And the reason that he's done this is because he's been building an audience for years, and he does this through speaking. So he speaks at events as a motivational speaker, and he's been building his audience for many, many years. Scott James is based here in the San Francisco Bay Area. It's been really fun to watch his career evolve. He started with these novels set in San Francisco, and he started a literary magazine for people in San Francisco. So guess what? That helped him get known in the San Francisco literary community, and that led to him being invited to write a column for the New York Times on the San Francisco lifestyle. And most recently, he has a new book out with Thomas Dunn, St. Martin's Publishing. So his career has really evolved, all because he's looked for an audience and cultivated that audience. This is Joseph Alexander. I reached out to him a year and a half ago to say, hey, I'd like to interview you for our podcast. I hear you're doing 6 figures in book sales. And he said, great, I'd love to be a guest, but I'm actually doing 7 figures a year in book sales. And he's doing this with music instruction guides. So he started out by teaching guitar, and then he expanded into other instruments. Then he started bringing in guest authors, and they are doing 7 figures. They've got a really active YouTube presence teaching how to play instruments. Cindy Sample is based here in the Sacramento area. She is phenomenal. She left her job to become a full-time writer. And Cindy writes murder mysteries. They're really fun. They're all set in our local community. And Cindy will go out and speak at groups. So if you lived in this area, you would know who Cindy is, because she has spoken everywhere. And she talks about the process of writing her book, but she also talks about creating your third act and starting over and following your passion. So she is a ton of fun and really has made herself very well known in our area. And then this last example is just so much fun. This is backyardchickens.com. It is all about raising chickens in your backyard. It's run by my friend Rob Ledlow. And this site, they don't sell chicken coops, they don't sell chicken feed, they don't sell any products. It is wholly based on a community, a chat board where people come and they have conversations on the chat board. And because of that and the traffic it receives, this site earns a hefty income based solely on ads placed on the site. Rob was invited to co-author Raising Chickens for Dummies, and this site receives over 1 million unique visitors per month. It's phenomenal. So the point here is content and engaging our community. And maybe you've been a victim of this random acts of content marketing, right? We've been told you should blog, you should be on Facebook, you should be out there putting your content in the world. And so you frantically kind of put content out, and then you wonder, why isn't it working? Why am I not building my audience? And what it really comes down to is connecting with your audience. What do they care about? How can you engage them? How can you solve their problems? How can you entertain them? And it may or may not even be topic directly related to your books. The point is that you are building an audience and a relationship with that audience. So let's talk about some topic ideas. How-to advice for any of you writing nonfiction, or even if you're writing fiction and you are passionate about a certain topic, you can find lots of people looking for how-to advice. This is an example from Atomic Habits. It's one of my favorite books I've read in the last year. James Clear has a newsletter, an email newsletter, and it's a wonderful newsletter. It's one of the few that I really get excited to open, and it's short and sweet, and it's usually 2 or 3 paragraphs of some valuable nugget. And he has over 1 million subscribers on his email list. So if you want to see a good example of a great newsletter, his is wonderful. But the point is, what can you do to help your audience? How can you improve their lives in some way? How can you serve them with information that they're interested in? Maybe you need to find a theme related to your book. So for those of you writing fiction or children's books or things like that, maybe there's a theme from your book based on the city that it's set in, or the history of the location. This is Zeva Hart. She's a romance novelist here in Sacramento, and she hosts romance parties, and she gives interviews with the newspaper about how to bring more romance into your relationships. I think this is brilliant. So she's actually using the topic of romance to build an audience of potential people who are interested in her books. Being funny. Funny is great. If you have a sense of humor, people want to hear from you. Of course, Dave Barry is really funny. There's lots of funny content out there that drives fans for authors. And then storytelling, maybe it's essays, maybe you're sharing poems, maybe you are pulling in stories from other people and telling their stories. So Neil Gaiman, he has an online journal. His writing is just so special. So it's really fun to read his online journal. And perhaps that is your angle, that is sort of a literary storytelling type of blog. And then interviews. So I love to interview people. This is part of the blog strategy we have at Nonfiction Authors Association. We interview other people. It's interesting to hear their stories. You could collaborate. I've heard lots of authors connecting, starting a community blog where they all contribute. And then here's a great example of a cause or a mission. This is Donna Hartley. She's a fascinating lady. She survived a DC-10 plane crash in the 80s, one of the last people off the plane. She survived a collapsed heart valve and stage 3 cancer. So she's written a series of memoirs, but her topic is women's health. So she speaks for the Go Red Foundation. She does a lot of heart health events. She is a full-time paid speaker talking about women's health topics. It's how she makes her living. All right, so the point here is that we are creating content to engage our audience. And I really feel that it should start with some foundation, whether that's a blog or a podcast, or you create a video channel, some place for your audience to come to on a regular basis. And then the next step is to expand your reach. It's to share your content with newsletter readers. It's to share it on social media. By the way, I think social media has been oversold. You do not need to be on all the social media networks, okay? You just need to be on one or two where your audience is spending time. And speaking is another fabulous way to engage your audience. And then from an advanced perspective, I mean, if you look at authors that are really successful, these are the things that they are doing, by the way. I know it sounds like a lot of work, but they're developing content, they're connecting with their audience. And an advanced way to do this would be to host an online group or some sort of community forum or membership program. This is a wonderful way to connect with people. It can be a free group, or it could potentially be a revenue generating group. So critical to your content success is knowing your audience. What do they care about? Who are they? Where are they spending their time? And then be consistent. This is a big mistake I see with a lot of blogs. You might have pictures of your recent vacation or a recipe that you liked, or talk about a movie you just saw, but it's all about your audience. It's not about you. It's not about your book. It's about serving your audience. And who is your audience? What are their needs and challenges? What are their pain points? How can you solve their problems? How can you entertain or engage them in some way and actually build a relationship so that you feel like you know them and they know you? So here's some good news. Your audience is actually probably bigger than you think. And so whenever I launch a book, I like to look at who do I know that can help support the book launch or the book promotion efforts? Who do I know that could publish an excerpt on their blog or interview me for their podcast or introduce me to somebody who could make a bulk purchase or invite me to speak at an event, or people that could be my beta readers, or even just leave a review on Amazon. So I go through this exercise. And by the way, I will share these slides. If you're frantically trying to take notes, I will share these slides. But you want to think about, how can your community help you, and who are these people? So if you really think to who you know, this is such an interesting exercise, because if you really sit down and think about it, maybe it's somebody that you went to school with 30 years ago, or a coworker you worked with 20 years ago that now works in a corporation that could buy your book and give to employees. So it's a powerful exercise. I go through it every couple of years myself. I'll go through my emails. I'll go through my social media contacts. I will go through my mailing list, and I will see, who do I know that I haven't connected with in a long time that could potentially assist with the book promotion effort in some way. So hang on to this list. Again, I will share this. But, looking not only the people you know, but the people you associate with. Here you're in a very vibrant community, it appears, with your writing group here. So there's meetup groups, there's alumni groups. Maybe you're part of, the parent-teacher association, and there's somebody there who could bring you in to do an event at the school. So these are the things to look at. It's a lot to think about. And I really encourage you, don't just rush through this. Spend an afternoon and really think hard about who you know that could be part of your community, your tribe. So I like to create a spreadsheet that has each person's name and their contact information. And then I have a column called Ask. What is it I'm asking them to do? Is it just to buy the book and write a review on Amazon? Is it to book me to speak? Is it to interview me on the podcast? What is it? All right, so that's a powerful exercise. So I'm going to quickly go through some content strategies that you're going to tie all of this together. So I said you need a foundation. My personal favorite is blogging. Statistically, the more frequently you blog, the more traffic your site is going to receive. So I like to think of it this way. Every time you write a new blog post, you give Google another reason to find your website. And Google prioritizes websites that are adding content frequently. So as you add content, you are gaining a reputation with Google and more likely to have traffic driven to your site. And then you take your blog content, and that is what you share on social media. So if you're sitting here going, what the heck do I post to my Twitter or my Facebook account? You start with your blog content. Or alternatively, if you prefer to speak, or you're really good on video, or you have something visual, you could create a video blog and a YouTube channel. This is great for people who are natural and engaging on video. I don't recommend it unless you're really very comfortable on video. Another option is to host your own podcast. This is like hotter than ever to host a podcast right now. I have a newer car, it has Apple CarPlay right in the dashboard, so I can listen to podcasts right from the dashboard of my car. It's easier than you think to create a podcast. You simply register with a site like Liberated Syndication, libsyn.com. It starts at like $10 a month, and they will distribute your podcast to Apple and all the other podcast directories. You just need some cover art, maybe some intro and exit music. And then each time you create a podcast episode, it becomes a post on your website. So you would use the blog feature on your site to list each episode and any notes that came from the episode. If talking is your thing, podcasting could be for you. On the flip side, I highly recommend you go on a podcast tour. If you did nothing else from this talk today, go book yourself to speak on podcasts. There are tons and tons and tons of podcasts out there, and most of them need guests. And I hear this from podcasters over and over. They want you to pitch them. They want to hear from authors. They want to hear from experts. So look for the shows that reach your target audience. Typically, you would go to iTunes, search for keywords related to your content, find the shows, go find their website, and then look for their podcast guest submission guidelines. They are almost always published because they need guests to reach out to them. If you are going to do any sort of podcasting or events like we're doing right now, it's a good idea to invest in a good microphone. This Blue Yeti you see on your screen is what I'm on right now. Audio Technica is a good brand. iPhone earbuds are really good. The laptop microphone is probably not high enough quality. I'm on a nice Logitech webcam, but I found that the audio quality wasn't great, which is why I also got a microphone. So if this is something you're going to pursue, you probably want to have the right equipment. I have a desk light blazing at my face right now. It was a $30 lamp on Amazon so that you can look like a pro when you do these events. So email marketing, if you're not collecting email addresses, I encourage you to do so. I think this is the best asset an author can have. I'll tell you why. Social media is somebody else's real estate. Email marketing is your own real estate. So we had a Twitter following of about 70,000 people. And last year, Twitter evaporated our account for no reason. We weren't posting political blogs or misinformation, or we were sharing, information for authors, and our account disappeared and we could never get it back. And it was just a reminder to me how important it is to own your email database. And we use Constant Contact for email. If Constant Contact leaves or cancels us, we own the content, so they can't take that away from us. So I think it's your best asset. It's the best way to engage people. And you really want to give them incentive to sign up for your emails, whether it's the first couple chapters of your book, or it's a report or something downloadable, or maybe it's a video or a series of videos. Maybe it's you reading your book. I don't know, but it's something that your audience is interested in. Remember, we want to be connecting with the audience and engaging them with valuable content. This is a super fun example. This is Dr. Sandra Dalton Smith. She's written a number of books. This latest one is called Sacred Rest. It's about the 7 kinds of rest we need: creative rest, physical rest, emotional rest. She created a quiz at restquiz.com where you can learn what kind of rest you need. And then she did a bunch of media. So she did radio interviews, TV interviews. If you've done them, you know that they might lead to a few book sales, but typically not a ton of them. So instead of focusing on that, she said, hey, take my quiz, go to restquiz.com. It's free. She's had over 200,000 people take this quiz. That is a powerful email list. All right, social media. I really think it's been oversold to us. I know a lot of you don't like it. I get it. I understand. My suggestion is to pick 1 or 2 networks where your audience is spending time. If you're targeting a younger audience, it's probably Instagram. If you're targeting moms, it's probably Facebook. My son calls it Mom Book. If you have something visual related to fashion or arts and crafts, Pinterest is your place. If your audience is a business audience, you should be on LinkedIn. Or if you're trying to market to companies, you should be on LinkedIn and have a presence there. Twitter has really changed a lot over the years. It's highly political now. It used to be more general. But really, if you pick 1 or 2 of these and do those well, and then share the content from your blog or your podcast or whatever it is you're doing, this is a great way to expand your reach and then invite people to sign up for your email list. All right, I've always said speakers sell books. And of course, right now, most people aren't doing a lot of traveling, but the good thing is webinars, right? What we're doing right now, I love doing webinars. I do a ton of them. And I will continue to do that this way because I honestly don't miss business travel. But you could be doing webinars with audiences. So you could reach out to associations that reach your target group, nonprofits, companies, schools, all kinds of opportunities. So create great speaking topics, write a description of your topic, and you can host your own webinars. We do a lot of this as well. And then you encourage people to sign up. You can promote them with ads if you have a budget to do that. And then, continue hosting these, make it a regular part of your practice, or continue reaching out to groups so that it can be a regular part of your building your author business. And then in the advanced category, online groups, I think this is such an underutilized opportunity for authors. So thinking about who is your target audience, what groups do they belong to on Facebook or LinkedIn or some other platform? What groups are they participating in? Can you join those groups, or can you start your own group? So here's an example. I happen to be a widow, so I naturally joined a bunch of widows groups 8 years ago when my husband died. Now imagine what would happen after I've been engaged in these groups for years, reaching tens of thousands of people, and I finally write that book, right? So I've been engaged with this group. I can reach out to the admin. I can say, hey, can I do a book giveaway? Hey, can I put out a call for beta readers? I can connect with that group. Conversely, I could start a group, or you can start a group for your target audience. So you want to look and see what's out there. Can you do it differently or better? Can you join the existing groups and maybe start your own group too? I consider this advanced marketing, but it really is a very powerful strategy. All right, so to summarize all of this that I've flown through here, you want to cultivate your community. So you're going to engage them. What do they care about? Give value. Solicit feedback, connect with them, talk to them in the comments, and things that they leave on your blog or your website or your social media. And then pay attention to what they're asking you. This is one of my favorite things. I'm about to take Q&A with you. And if I can't answer a question with a piece of content, it goes on a list and it becomes a piece of content. So we have articles and reports and recordings. I always want to listen to my audience, because if somebody has one question, other people have that question. So the questions your audience is asking you are valuable intelligence for your next book, for your blog, for your podcast, for whatever it is you're creating. Now, when I joined, you all were talking about hiring help with your marketing. And so this is my final tip for you. Successful authors aren't doing this themselves. I know this looks like a lot of work, and it is a lot of work. I am not going to tell you it's not, but get some help. Virtual assistants are the best thing to ever happen to authors. A virtual assistant is an administrative professional. They work on a contract basis from their own home, and you can hire someone for as few as 5 hours a month to help with all those tasks you're procrastinating about that you don't like to do. I have an assistant help with social media. Now, I do all my own engagement, but she will post new content and things like that. Your assistant can help you research podcasts or research blogs or send out pitches for you to be a speaker. So, you can find people from anywhere from $20 to $50 an hour. And I think it's money well spent. So I've shared some links. We have a list of virtual assistants that work with authors. That very first link there. IVAA.org is the International Virtual Assistants Association. That's a great place. You can put an RFP, a request for proposal, tell them what you're looking for, and you'll get back a dozen or so proposals for services with pricing. Upwork.com is a freelancers directory, and ask your fellow authors who has a great assistant that's available for additional work. And I would love to take your questions. I just wanted to quickly mention, I have a book marketing master course coming in March. It's a 6-week program. We have an optional professional certification. It comes with this massive workbook that took me forever to write. It's a 230-page workbook. If you're interested in joining us, it's bookmarketingmastercourse.com. We'll get you there. And the code webinar15 will save you 15%. Whew, okay, we did it.